The Corruption Cancer by James Stanislas. Imagine working hard every day and earning a decent salary. Most St. Lucians don't. And still, you're struggling to make ends meet. Imagine living in a country where the healthcare system is in disarray and you're struggling to afford a decent education for your children. Meanwhile, your neighbor, a politician, seems to be living a life of luxury on a salary that obviously cannot sustain his or her ostentatious lifestyle. They've become a millionaire in their first term in office. They drive around in fancy cars, own multiple properties, and take exotic vacations. Something doesn't add up, does it? Unfortunately, this scenario is all too common in Saint Lucia. Corruption has become a cancer that's eaten away at our economy, ravaging the moral fabric of our society. And it's high time we expose the culprits and their dirty dealings. As the former South African president, Thabo Mbeki, once said, and I quote, "The nexus of corruption and bribery is a source of great stain on the conscience of our people. It is a cancer that must be rooted out," end of quote. Indeed, my fellow St. Lucians, corruption is a cancer that's spreading rapidly, and it's imperative we take action to stop it. Take the Citizen by Investment Program, CIP. On paper, it sounds like a great way to attract foreign investments and create jobs. But scratch beneath the surface, and you'll find a web of secrecy and backroom deals that benefit only a select few. It's like a high-stakes game of poker where the house always wins, and the house is always owned by politicians and their cronies. Then there's the Global Ports Holding Lease Agreement, the GPH agreement, which has sparked concerns over the leasing of our country's valuable assets in exchange for trinkets disguised as development. It's like the Spanish conquistadors trading worthless glass beads for the native population's gold and precious riches. This lopsided deal, or should I have said steal, reeks of exploitation, and we're left wondering if our leaders have reckoned the true cost of this agreement, as the losses are crippling for a poor country like ours. And what about the National Lottery Authority loan, the NLA? A staggering $80 million was borrowed by the NLA and guaranteed by the government of St. Lucia, yet not a single soul is held accountable. The truth is, no one knows exactly what projects were implemented. No one knows what the scope of works was. No one knows who the contractors were. And no one knows how much was spent on each project. It's a complete black hole of information. Projects were hastily handed over to fly-by-night contractors with no experience or track record, raising serious questions about the integrity of the process. Meanwhile, a minister of government is suddenly flush with cash, buying up land and constructing multiple lavish villas, all with impunity. It's like entrusting a jar to a known thief, expecting it to remain intact until a rainy day, only to discover that the thief has been quietly siphoning off the contents, leaving the jar empty and the people robbed of their rightful returns. But corruption goes beyond just these high-profile cases. It's also about the rent-seeking behavior of politicians, where they use their influence to extract wealth from the economy without creating any value. It's like a parasite feeding off the host, growing fat and rich, while the host grows weak and impoverished. What's equally alarming is that certain members of the professional class, including lawyers, accountants, engineers, bankers, quantity surveyors, and some civil society and media groups have been complicit in corruption by turning a blind eye to it, or worse, using their expertise or positions to launder dirty money or conceal illegal activities in exchange for personal benefits or favors. This corrupt nexus between politicians, business people, and professionals creates a perfect storm of corruption in small developing states like Saint Lucia, where the lack of transparency, accountability, and oversight allows it to thrive. As a result, corruption perpetuates poverty, widens the gap between the rich and the poor, and stifles economic growth. By their silence, these groups become complicit in the corruption that's destroying our economy and our nation, and their involvement only exacerbates the problem. But here's the thing. We don't have to be victims of this corruption epidemic. We can demand better from our leaders. We can demand transparency, accountability, and good governance. We can educate ourselves and others about the dangers of corruption and its impact on our economy. So what can we do? Firstly, we need to hold our leaders accountable. Contracts and agreements should be made public, and those involved in the corrupt activities should be held accountable. We need to strengthen our institutions, like the Integrity Commission, to ensure they have the teeth to tackle corruption effectively. Secondly, we need to educate ourselves and others about the dangers of corruption. We need to have open and honest conversations about the impact of corruption on our economy and our daily lives. We need to demand more from our leaders and also from ourselves. Lastly, we need to take action. We need to speak out against corruption and support organizations and individuals that are fighting against it. We need to use elections to remove corrupt politicians from office, not reward them by aiding them to protect their victory and perpetuate their corrupt practices. The fight against corruption is not an easy one, but it's a fight worth having. Let's rise up, St. Lucians, and demand a better future for ourselves and for the generations to come. A future where hard work and honesty are rewarded, not corruption and greed. I want to thank you for listening. May God bless you and your family, and may God bless our beautiful island, Saint Lucia.